Marcus Reynolds stood before the bench in Fulton County Superior Court on a crisp autumn morning in 2018. He faced charges of petty theft, a minor offense stemming from an incident at a local convenience store where he had allegedly taken items without paying. Marcus, 25 at the time, maintained a calm demeanor throughout the preliminary proceedings. His public defender argued for leniency, citing Marcus's lack of prior convictions and his efforts to support his family. The prosecutor pushed for a standard sentence, emphasizing the need for accountability. Judge Harlan Whitaker presided over the case. At 62, Judge Whitaker had served on the bench for over 3 decades, known for his strict adherence to the law and fair rulings. He reviewed the case file methodically, asking routine questions about the evidence. When Marcus stepped forward to enter his plea, Judge Whitaker looked up from his notes. His expression shifted abruptly. He paused, his pen hovering above the paper, and stared at Marcus for several seconds. The courtroom fell silent as observers noticed the judge's unusual reaction. Judge Whitaker cleared his throat and asked Marcus to state his full name for the record. Marcus replied clearly, "Marcus Anthony Reynolds." The judge leaned back in his chair, his face paling slightly. He requested a brief recess, which the bailiff announced. During the break, Judge Whitaker retreated to his chambers, where he pulled out an old photograph from his desk drawer. The photo depicted a younger version of himself with a woman and a small child. He compared it to the image of Marcus from the case file. Upon return to the courtroom, Judge Whitaker addressed Marcus directly. He asked about Marcus's birthplace and family background. Marcus explained that he had been born in Atlanta in 1993 and raised by his mother, Elena Reynolds, after his father left when he was an infant. Elena had worked multiple jobs to provide for him, and Marcus had no knowledge of his father's whereabouts. The judge probed further, inquiring about any distinctive family traits or stories Elena might have shared. Marcus mentioned a faded birthmark on his left shoulder, shaped like a crescent, which his mother said ran in the family. Judge Whitaker nodded slowly, revealing that he possessed a similar mark. He then disclosed a personal connection. Decades earlier, in 1992, Judge Whitaker, then a young attorney named Harlan Williams, had been involved in a brief relationship with Elena Reynolds during his time at a law firm. He had changed his last name to Whitaker after marrying into a prominent family to advance his career. The revelation stunned the courtroom. Judge Whitaker admitted that he had fathered a child with Elena, but had abandoned them due to pressure from his new in-laws and his ambition for a judicial appointment. He had provided sporadic financial support anonymously, but never acknowledged Marcus publicly. Marcus, unaware of this until that moment, processed the information in shock. The public defender requested a paternity test to confirm the claims, which the judge agreed to expedite. Court records later confirmed through DNA testing that Judge Whitaker was indeed Marcus's biological father. The case against Marcus was dismissed on grounds of potential bias, and a new judge was assigned for any further proceedings. However, the prosecutor dropped the charges entirely, citing the unusual circumstances and Marcus's clean record. Following the courtroom encounter, Judge Whitaker reached out to Marcus privately. They met at a neutral location, a quiet cafe outside the city. Judge Whitaker expressed regret for his absence and explained the choices he had made in his youth. Marcus listened, asking questions about his heritage and why the judge had stayed away. Judge Whitaker described his early struggles, including a difficult upbringing that motivated him to seek stability through his career. Marcus shared details of his own life. He had grown up in a modest neighborhood, attending public schools where he excelled in academics despite financial hardships. Elena had encouraged him to pursue education, and Marcus had earned a scholarship to a community college, studying business administration. He worked part-time jobs to help with bills, which led to the theft incident, a momentary lapse when he couldn't afford groceries after a paycheck delay. The two began building a relationship gradually. Judge Whitaker offered to cover Marcus's outstanding debts and provided funds for him to complete his degree. Marcus accepted the help but insisted on repaying it through work. He started an internship at a legal aid organization recommended by the judge, gaining experience in community service. Elena Reynolds was informed of the developments. She met with Judge Whitaker for the first time in over 2 decades. Their conversation was emotional, with Elena expressing the hardships she faced raising Marcus alone. Judge Whitaker apologized profusely and committed to making amends. He established a trust fund for Elena's retirement and ensured her medical needs were covered. As months passed, Marcus integrated into the Whitaker family circle cautiously. Judge Whitaker's wife, Patricia, and their 2 adult children learned of Marcus's existence. Initial tensions arose, but family counseling sessions helped navigate the dynamics. Marcus attended family gatherings, where he connected with his half-siblings over shared interests like sports and history. Professionally, Marcus advanced quickly. With his degree in hand by 2020, he secured a position at a nonprofit focused on youth rehabilitation. His personal story motivated him to advocate for reformed justice systems. He spoke at local events about the importance of second chances, drawing from his courtroom experience. Judge Whitaker's reputation shifted following the incident. Media outlets covered the story after court transcripts became public, highlighting themes of redemption and family secrets. He faced scrutiny from judicial oversight committees but retained his position after review found no ongoing conflicts. He became more lenient in cases involving young offenders, incorporating restorative justice principles. By 2022, Marcus and Judge Whitaker co-authored an article for a legal journal on the impact of personal biases in the judiciary. Their collaboration strengthened their bond. Marcus married his longtime girlfriend, Sarah, in a small ceremony attended by both sides of his family. They welcomed a daughter in 2023, whom they named Elena after Marcus's mother. Judge Whitaker retired in 2024, citing health reasons. In his farewell speech, he referenced the courtroom moment as a turning point that taught him humility. Marcus stood by his side during the event, symbolizing their reconciliation. Elena passed away peacefully in 2025 from natural causes, surrounded by her son and extended family. Her funeral brought everyone together, reinforcing the ties formed from that fateful day in court. Marcus continued his work in advocacy, establishing a foundation in his mother's name to support single parents. He maintained contact with Judge Whitaker, visiting regularly. The experience shaped Marcus into a resilient individual, focused on positive change. The courtroom freeze marked the beginning of revelations that reshaped lives. Judge Whitaker's recognition of Marcus uncovered layers of history previously buried. Marcus adapted to his new reality, embracing opportunities while honoring his roots. Details from court documents showed the exact sequence of events. The recess lasted 15 minutes, during which Judge Whitaker consulted his personal records. The DNA test results, processed through a certified lab, confirmed a 99.9% match. Marcus's early life included challenges like moving between apartments to afford rent. He participated in after-school programs at the community center, where mentors noticed his potential. Judge Whitaker's career highlights included landmark rulings on civil rights cases in the 1990s. His name change was legally documented in 1995, aligning with his marriage. Family meetings often involved discussions about shared ancestry. They traced roots to African American communities in Georgia, enriching Marcus's understanding of his heritage. Marcus's internship led to full-time employment, where he managed programs for at-risk youth. His approach emphasized empathy, informed by his own encounters with the system. Media coverage included interviews where Marcus stated, "That day changed everything, but it was about truth coming out." Judge Whitaker echoed, "I froze because I saw my past staring back." The article they co-wrote received acclaim, cited in legal education materials. Marcus's marriage to Sarah brought stability. She worked as a teacher, supporting his endeavors. Their daughter's birth prompted Judge Whitaker to set up an education fund. Retirement allowed Judge Whitaker to volunteer at Marcus's foundation. Elena's legacy lived through stories shared at family dinners. Marcus reflected on the incident as a catalyst for growth. He pursued further education, earning a master's in social policy by 2026. The foundation expanded, partnering with national organizations. Judge Whitaker wrote memoirs, dedicating a chapter to Marcus. Their relationship evolved into one of mutual respect. This account details the unfolding of events from that courtroom moment onward. To elaborate, Marcus's plea hearing was scheduled for 10 a.m. The courtroom held about 50 spectators, including other defendants. Judge Whitaker's initial question was standard. "How do you plead?" Marcus responded, "Guilty, Your Honor, but with explanation." The freeze occurred after Marcus looked directly at the judge. In chambers, Judge Whitaker called his assistant to pull old files. The photo was from 1993, shortly after Marcus's birth. Back in court, the judge's voice trembled slightly during the revelation. Bailiff noted the unusual atmosphere. Prosecutor objected to the personal disclosure, but the judge overruled. Recusal was immediate. DNA testing took 2 weeks. Results were sealed initially, but later released with consent. Marcus's reaction post-test was relief mixed with anger. Counseling helped process emotions. Elena's meeting with the judge lasted 2 hours. She forgave but held him accountable. Trust fund amounted to $200,000. Marcus's internship pay was $15 per hour. He worked 20 hours weekly. College graduation GPA was 3.8. Nonprofit roles started at $50,000 salary. Advocacy speeches reached hundreds. Article word count was 5,000, published in Harvard Law Review Analog. Wedding guest list was 50 people. Daughter's name full, Elena Grace Reynolds. Birth weight, 7 pounds. Retirement party had 200 attendees.